So the saga continues of the rear wheel rattle that my Meepo V3 has. Now this is unrelated to my previous video. In fact, my buddy wrecked my Meepo V3, and upon riding it the next day, I noticed this rattle. Turns out it was one of the rear motors. So let's go ahead and step through installing a new motor on your Meepo V3. First step is going to be removing the computer enclosure. And of course, for good measure, I'm going to go ahead and unplug the battery. I tried removing the retaining brackets for the motors without removing the truck, but those things are torqued on tight, as you can imagine. So I decided to go ahead and remove the truck completely so I could try to get some leverage against the 4 Allen screws that were holding the motor in place. I couldn't get it with an Allen wrench, so I ended up having to use a bit as well as a ratchet. Now you notice that where the motor meets the truck, it's kind of keyed in the sense that it's squared in 90-degree angles. So you can either slide it away from the truck or just sort of pop it out, as I did. I'm going to snip the wire ties that are holding the wiring bundle together here. We're going to unplug the old motor, so there's the cables going for sort of producing power, as well as the ones going to the computer to manage speed and things like that. We're going to plug the new one in, noting that for the power module, it only goes in one orientation, so be mindful of that. Same with plugging it into the computer, it really only goes in one way. Now getting the new motor back into place, you can either sort of force it in or slide it into that key recess, and I found that sliding it in was far easier than trying to force it into place. So we're going to put back on the retaining bracket as well as the 4 Allen screws. Now I'm just snugging them with the Allen wrench. I'm going to get out the ratchet, as you can see, and make sure they are very tight. I'm going to torque the hell out of them. Now you're going to want to check the gap between the retaining bracket as well as the motors to make sure that they're both sort of slid into place in the same position here and here. So use the motor that you're not removing for reference to know how far in it should be pushed in, basically. Take some wire ties and just sort of redo the wire management that I disconnected, just to make sure that the enclosure goes back on nice and seamlessly. The Meepo V3 isn't waterproof. I believe online they say it's water resistant. That's debatable, but I want to make sure whatever measure of water resistance it has, it retains. We'll go ahead and put the cover back on. Screw that puppy into place, and with that, you're back in business.